And we're good. All right. We're going to do, first construction that we're going to do is called copying segments. So let me write that down, and you should probably enter these things onto your notes. This one's called copying a line segment. So first thing you're going to want to do on your paper is draw a line segment. Remember, segments have two endpoints. So we're going to make a segment. We're going to put two dots at the end of the segment. They don't need to be that big, just kind of small dots at the end of the segment so you can see that the segment actually ends. And once you have your two endpoints, then you're going to draw a second line underneath it, and make sure it goes a little bit past the first one. Make sure it goes a little bit past. Okay, on your second one, we're going to make the one dot this time. You don't need to put dots on both sides because we don't know exactly how long the second segment is until we measure this first one with our compass. We're not measuring anything with our rulers today. We're just using our construction tools. So we're going to go to our compass. And again, you're going to have to share them, so if you don't have one at the second, just watch closely and you're going to get one in a second. You're going to put your compass and open it up so that it is measured exactly the width of your line, your first segment. It would actually be a good idea to draw an arc through here to make sure you have the right length. So if I draw an arc through there, I know that it's the right length. Then what I'm going to do is leave that same width and go down to this line segment. Use that same width and make an arc down here. And then all you have to do to finish it up is put the dot where the arc and your segment intersect. And you have the exact same segment. It would also be a good idea to put in two tick marks here. Now, I told you before that tick marks mean that they're congruent. So that means these two line segments, these two segments are exactly the same. One would fit on top of the other. They are congruent. The second construction we're going to do is a perpendicular bisector of a segment. So the next thing you need to do is draw another segment. This time leave a little room above it and below it. Leave yourself some space above the segment and below the segment. And since it's a segment, we are going to put two dots at the end for our two endpoints. Don't make it too long of a segment, otherwise it'll be too big on your paper. Now this construction actually has a special name. I call it the fish, and you'll see why in a minute. What you want to do is put your compass on one of your endpoints and make sure that it's past the halfway point. Make sure it's opening up so it's past halfway. You don't want to go all the way to the end this time. Just somewhere past halfway. Not too far past halfway, but make sure it's past. And then you're going to make like a half circle. So you want to spin your paper or spin your notebook. You're going to do the same exact arc from both endpoints. So you're going to do it at one endpoint. You're going to take your compass and move it to the other side. And you're going to do it on your other endpoint. And if you were past halfway, you're going to notice that they're going to intersect each other, and it kind of looks like a fish. So that's why I call it the fish. So spin your paper. Make your lines very light. You don't want to make them dark because it won't spin very well. Try to clear everything else off your desk if you need to spin your paper around. You also want to connect the top and the bottom of the fish. So if you connect those two, that will be where your perpendicular bisector is. Now, does anybody know what the word perpendicular means? Perpendicular means it makes what kind of angles? Right angles. They have to make 90-degree angles. Anybody know what bisect means? Bisect. Cut in half. Good, cut in half. So we're cutting the segment in half and we're making them 90-degree angles is basically what we're doing here. So it would be a good idea to make a 90-degree angle box. So like right in here you want to make a little box for 90 degrees. And then you also probably, to show that they're equal pieces, you want to make your tick marks to show that the pieces are equal. So they're bisected. That means they're two equal pieces and they're 90-degree angles. That's called a perpendicular bisector. This one's perpendicular to a point on the segment. So the first thing we need to do again is draw a segment. You just need room underneath this one. You need room underneath it. You don't need too much room at the top, but you do need some room underneath. And since it's a segment, we definitely want dots at the ends. So we want two endpoints. And we want a third dot to be somewhere on the segment. Don't put it right in the middle. Just put it closer to one of the endpoints. And we'll actually label these A, B, and C today. So we'll call that point A, point B, point C, and we'll put it point B right next to B. C will go here. A right there. We want to get a perpendicular line that goes through point B, and it's perpendicular to this line. So again, we need our compass. This one I also have a special name for. I call it the smiley face, and you'll see why. You're going to put your compass on the point that you want the perpendicular line to be at. So I'm going to put my compass right on point B. That's where I want my perpendicular to be. I'm going to make my happy face, or my smiley face, not too big. I'm going to go around point B so that it touches my segment in two places. Those are the 2 points that I need. I'm going to make those in red dots. Those are the 2 points that I have to have. If I don't have those 2 points, then I can't make my perpendicular line. So I'm going to make those 2 dots in red. Those are the important points that you need. That's the only reason that we make that arc, is to get those 2 red points. Now they could be anywhere on your line, but they have to be the same distance away from B. So if you notice, each red dot is the same distance away from B. Now I'm going to make an X underneath my smiley face by using the 2 red dots. I'm going to open up my compass bigger this time, and I'm going to make an arc at one red dot, and I'm going to make an arc at the other red dot. If you notice, the 2 arcs will intersect. If you made them big enough, they will intersect each other. So each red dot, I made my arc. You got to make the same arc from the red dots. So I made a dot from that red arc, from that red dot, and I made an arc from this red dot. And the 2 dots, the 2 arcs intersected, and all I have to do is connect my X with my point B. And that will make a perpendicular line. And again, you could put the little red box in there to notate that you have perpendicular lines. Now, if one angle's perpendicular is 90 degrees, what do you think about all 4 of these angles? What do you notice about all 4 of them? If this one's 90, what do you think about all the other 3? They're also 90. All of them are going to be 90-degree angles. So that's perpendicular to a point that we already had on our line. Okay, the next one we're going to put is perpendicular to a point not on the segment. So the first one was point on the segment, this one's not on the segment. So we need another segment. So let's draw a line segment first. Not too big. And since it's a segment, we need endpoints. Endpoints on our segments. And this time we need a point somewhere. Let's put the point underneath. That means you're going to need some room above it this time. Sorry, I didn't tell you that earlier. So if you need to erase your segment, do so. Leave yourself some room above it. If the point's below it, you're going to need room above. If you put a point above it, you're going to need room below it. So either one works. Let's label this as X. We'll label this one as Y. And then the point that we want to be going through the perpendicular line we'll call point Z. And again, we're going to be using our compass. So we're going to put the compass, just like we put it on point B last time and made a smiley face, we're going to put it on point Z this time. And we're going to make sure that it's just a little bit past the segment. So watch the board. If you don't have your compass, you're just watching right now until you get a compass, but you're going to make sure it's a little bit past. Because what you need to do is you need to draw another like half circle that touches our segment in two places. You see, this time it's like an upside down, so it's like a frown. And I need the two red dots again. I need to know where it touches my segment, so I need those two red dots. The two red dots are where I'm going to be putting my compass to make my X. So as long as it intersects it in two places, it'll give me those two red dots. You're going to put your compass on those two red dots, and you can make arcs above your frown, or like a nose if you want to say it's a nose. And you'll see that they will intersect and make an X. So I used the two red dots again to make my arcs. And if you did it correctly, when you connect your point Z with your X, you will have a perpendicular line. Now it's not a bisector. We're not cutting the line in half. The only goal here was to make it perpendicular to XY through point Z. That's the only goal we had. You might want to make your little red box in there again, just so you know that it's perpendicular. It's a little off. Let's make a little bit better one. Make it a small little box so you can see it. And this time, like I said, it's not a bisector, it's just perpendicular. Alright, again, you can watch these on the video if you get behind. So I'm going to move to the next one so we can finish. The next one is called copying an angle. Just like copying a segment, copying an angle is not too bad. To draw an angle, we need two rays. So I'm going to draw one ray this direction. I'm going to draw another ray going down this way. And I'm going to draw a third ray over here for my second angle. I don't know where to draw the next ray in because I want to make sure this angle, second angle, is the exact same size as the first angle. To do that, we need our compass. And we need to put our compass on the vertex of our first angle, and we need to just draw an arc. It doesn't matter exactly where, you just need an arc. And the arc better cross your angle on both sides, because you need the two places where it crosses. Just like we needed it on the last slide, we need the red dots again. Two red dots are where it crosses my angle. So make an arc somewhere on your angle and make the two dots here. Now take your compass and open it up so that one side of your compass is on one red dot and the other side is on your other red dot. And you can double check it by drawing an arc in here to make sure it goes through your dot. So you can see that mine is right on the red dot there. And I made a mistake. I forgot a step. So we're going to have to go back for a second. Go back to your compass being on the vertex. And go back to the original arc that you made. Okay, so you're going to need to find what that original arc was. Open it to that original arc. See mine, this original arc that I'm showing you on the board right now? Look for that one. We need to take our compass and we need to do that original arc over here as well. That was one step that I neglected to do there. So we need to make that same arc on this side. Now we can go back and measure the width of those two red dots. Okay, so once you have the arc on your other angle, you can go get your compass open to these two red dots and then use that to make the same angle on your other side. So you've got a little spot right up here where the two arcs cross. Where those two arcs cross is where you're going to put in your ray. So this ray is going to go right in here. And those two angles are now congruent angles. They both have the same measure. You could actually take your protractor, which you should have. You don't have to do this, but you could if you wanted to. If you got a little extra time while somebody's using the ruler compass, you could be taking your protractor and measuring your two angles and seeing if they came out the same. So my first angle is exactly 40 degrees. So if I measure my second angle, you can see it also comes out to be 40 degrees right there. So they're both 40 degrees for me. You could check your two angles and make sure they came out the same. If you don't have time, you can do that later when you get home if you have a protractor at home. That one was 40 degrees and this one came out to be 40 degrees. The last one is called bisecting an angle. Do you remember what bisect means? I told you a little bit ago with perpendicular bisector. What does bisect mean again? Cut in half. So we want to cut an angle in half. So first thing we're going to need to do is draw an angle. Now make this one a little wider. Not longer. You don't have to make the lines long. You can if you want to. You got room. But we want to make it a little wider so it's a little bit easier to see the bisecting parts this time. And you want to take your compass and you want to do the same first step as you did in the last one. You want to make an arc. It doesn't matter exactly where you put your arc. You just need to find two dots that are the same distance away from your vertex. So in other words, I need those two red dots again. So I just need to know where there are 2 points that are the exact same distance away from my vertex. Because those are the 2 dots you're going to use. So your first step is to draw an arc where you've got 2 dots that are the same distance away from your vertex. Now you're going to use those 2 dots to make an X in the center of your angle. You can do the same arc from both red dots. The same arc from both of your red dots. And then you're going to take your third ray and connect your vertex with your X. Connect your vertex and your X, and you should now have made 2 angles that are identical. The way to check it is to lay your protractor on those angles and see if that middle ray cuts the angle exactly in half. So I put my protractor right like that. The bigger angle is about 64 degrees, and you can see my smaller angle is at 32 degrees. So 32 is half of 64. My angle is bisected. Now the last thing I would do is just put the little notations in there to show that it's bisected. Those are what we call little arcs. We'll make little arcs inside of here to show that these 2 angles are congruent. These 2 red little arcs show that this top angle is congruent to this bottom angle. That's what bisecting does. It cuts it into 2 equal pieces.